was anathema to what they were trying to create in forming a new country.
It's essential to make decisions in public policy wherever possible based on the actual evidence that there is for something.
How else are you going to make policy? You're going to base it on some sort of faith? Or a wish that something will happen just because you want to? What are you going to do? Stand and sort of scream in the spot until you get your way like a small child? And that's effectively what some of our politicians seem to be doing.
For 6 months I worked as a policy advisor at the highest levels of the British civil service, working to advise those senior people on issues of drugs and crime. And the aim of that was to get an academic in there to help give them some evidence that they could base their policies on. But I found that was actually quite a difficult job to do. Those civil servants told me that they had learnt that it's not helpful to use evidence which challenges the dominant way of thinking that's already structuring those policies. It's much easier to take the evidence that supports what you're already doing and use that to justify the continuation of your existing policy.
One of the leading figures in research in drugs policy really is Professor David Nutt.
He was the government advisor for the ACMD. The ACMD is the Advisory Council on Misuse of Drugs.
We created a 16-point scale of harms, and then we took 20 drugs and we ranked all those drugs on these 16 different harms. And then when we put all that together into this computer program called multi-criteria decision analysis, we discovered that the most harmful drug of all was alcohol. It showed that the drug laws, which ignore the most harmful drug, alcohol, were actually based on a wrong understanding of harms. Politicians wanted to get some kind of political advantage by being hard on cannabis. And our study said, well, hang on, cannabis is much, much less harmful than alcohol. And I thought I was going to be encouraged to tell the scientific truth. And then suddenly one afternoon I got a phone call saying, effectively, you've got to resign. And I said, why? And he said, because you're giving mixed messages. You know, we've got to have a line. Cannabis is bad, alcohol is good. When we say we want you to resign, it means you're sacked. So I was sacked.
Professor Nutt's dismissal came after he dared to suggest drugs like cannabis and ecstasy are less harmful than alcohol and tobacco.
It was a very interesting experience, because here you spent 10 years of your life doing what you know is right, and what you know, if that was accepted by government, by policymakers, would be better for society. And then for simple political reasons, you get humiliated publicly.
After an angry exchange on Sky News yesterday, Alan Johnson reiterated his argument in a letter to The Guardian today. Professor Nutt was not sacked for his views, which I respect but disagree with. He was asked to go because he cannot be both a government advisor and a campaigner against government policy.
But it kind of backfired on the government, because his sacking attracted an enormous amount of media attention.
Suddenly, the debate wasn't just about whether this expert committee had got it right about drugs. It was a whole debate about the role of science in policy making.
This brings us to an interesting question. If evidence doesn't play the role we think it does in policy making, then what does?